Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
morning, Jordan. And good morning, everybody. Honey, can you share your screen and Zoom as well, please? You stop the music? Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Today's lesson 74. Today is March 15th, the Ides of March. Yesterday was Pie Day. I hope you guys had some pie. I completely forgot I didn't send out one pie joke. The blueberries were very disappointed. Today, lesson 74. There is no will but God's will. The idea for today, that there's no will but God's will, can be regarded as the central thought towards which all of our exercises are directed. God's will is the only will. When you've recognized that God's will is the only will, you've recognized that your will is God's will. The belief that conflict is possible has gone. Peace has replaced the strange idea that you are torn by conflicting goals. As an expression of the will of God, you have no goal but God's will. There is great peace in today's idea that there is no will but God's will. And the exercises for today are directed toward finding God's will. The idea that there is no will but God's will is wholly true. Therefore, the idea that there is no will but God's will cannot give rise to illusions. Without illusions, conflict is impossible. Let us try to recognize today that without illusions, conflicts are impossible, and experience the peace this recognition brings. Begin the longer practice periods by repeating these thoughts, that there is no will but God's, and that without illusions, conflicts are impossible. Repeat that several times slowly, with firm determination to understand what they mean, and hold them in mind. There is no will but God's. I cannot be in conflict. Then spend several minutes adding some related thoughts, such as, I am at peace. Nothing can disturb me. My will is God's. My will and God's are one. God wills peace for his Son. During this introductory phase, be sure to deal quickly with any conflict thoughts that may cross your mind. Tell yourself immediately, there is no will but God's. These conflict thoughts are meaningless. If there is one conflict area that seems particularly difficult to resolve, single that one difficult area out for special consideration. Think about that one difficult area of conflict briefly, but very specifically. Identify the particular person or persons and the situation or situations involved, and tell yourself, there is no will but God's. I share my will with God's will. My conflicts about this thing cannot be real. After you have cleared your mind in this way, close your eyes and try to experience the peace to which your reality entitles you. Sink into the peace your reality entitles you and feel it closing around you. There may be some temptation to mistake these attempts for withdrawal, but the difference is easily detected. If you're succeeding, you'll feel a deep sense of joy and an increased alertness, rather than a feeling of drowsiness and, I don't know what that word is, innervation? Innervation?
It has to do with anger.
Oh, thank you, sweetie. Yeah, we don't want to be angry. Wait, anger? That doesn't
A
make
little
sense.
bit. I mean, it's like being bothered or
Enervation.
something. It's like being
Enervation.
bothered. Or
Yeah. Enervation is, that's pretty much what you're saying, Adriana.
Good enough for me. Joy
Hmm.
characterizes peace. By this experience of joy, you will recognize that you have reached the peace your reality entitles you. If you feel yourself slipping off into withdrawal, quickly repeat the idea for today that there is no will but God's will, and try again. Do this as often as necessary. There's definite gain in refusing to allow retreat into withdrawal, even if you do not experience the peace you seek. In the shorter periods, which should be undertaken at regular and predetermined intervals today, say to yourself, there is no will but God's. I seek His peace today. Then try to find the peace of God that you're seeking. A minute or two every half an hour, with eyes closed if possible, would be well spent on this today. Lesson 74 states there's no will but God's will. One of the goals of A Course in Miracles is to help you recognize that you're an expression of God's will. There is no will but God's will, and so you have no goals but God's goals. When you realize this, there can be no conflict, because there's a single purpose that you share with your Creator. Only when you have conflicting goals do you have conflict. The peace of God will be yours when you realize that your will and God's will are the same. Yet, once again, that is not how we perceive ourselves. The split-minded believe that they do have a will that's different from God's. Yesterday, we mentioned that your ego's idle wishes are unshared with the mind of God. Therefore, these egoic, fear-based thoughts have no power to create what is real. But your ego's wishes are not idle in the sense that they create an illusion that appears so real that actually becomes your personal provisional reality. Your egoic illusions result in the conflict that you experience in this lifetime. If you knew that you really were God's beloved child with whom God is well pleased, conflict would be impossible. Instead, you believe you are an unholy and not whole. If you would listen to the voice for God, you'd realize that you wish to be happy. Your wish to be happy and God's will are the same. Both are in perfect alignment. Being of one mind, fulfilling the function assigned to you by God's plan is your happiness. But the split mind sees things differently. Your split mind sees conflict where there is none, because you believe in the reality of your ego's illusions. So how do your ego's illusions become your provisional reality? Time is the game board for your split mind's imagination. Being a son of God, your mind has the power to co-create with God by using loving thoughts that are shared with the mind of God. Being shared with God's mind, these thoughts are real and are the extension of the mind of God. But we cannot share false or fear-based thoughts with God, for God only knows the truth. In order to make illusions manifest in this time and space and appear real, our split minds must share these wishes, desires, or thoughts with other split minds that also wish to explore this game of separation. Manifestation, whether real or imagined, occurs when two minds are joined in a common desire that they wish to experience. When individuated aspects of mind share either their loving or fear-based thoughts, manifestation occurs in the illusionary game board of time and space. There was nothing wrong with wanting to participate in the game of separation. You don't have to feel guilt or blame yourself for your involvement in this game. It provides a wonderful opportunity to demonstrate what you truly are. You get to really test what you currently value in the pressure cooker we call your earthly experience. That's why the game of separation could be called the journey of awakening. It allows you to experience, learn, and be a special or separate aspect of love. Love is the only nature of the one self, but love has numerous aspects that will comprise it. In time, the illusion of differentiation can be experienced in a totally safe environment. As long as each participant remembers that differentiation is not real, no judgments involved with this game. Yet when the split-minded forget to remember that the game of separation is merely a game, they slip into judgment, which leads to fear. When you judge something as either good, bad, or even indifferent, you make the game of separation appear real. The game now seems to have real consequences. You now believe there's something outside of you that has the ability to change the truth of who you really are. You believe you are a separate, vulnerable, ego body that has needs, can attack, and be attacked. Your judgment forms the basis for your attack thoughts and your grievances. These judgments, attack thoughts, and grievances make your ego's illusions appear real, and they make conflict possible. There are no private thoughts. In order for an illusion to manifest as someone's provisional reality, it must be shared with another mind. There are no victims, and there are no victimizers. This means that it is impossible for you to force your thoughts upon another. An analogy may be useful in helping explain how illusions are shared with others and manifest as someone's personal experience. All events that manifest in time and space are actually neutral. They don't have any inherent ability to make you happy or make you sad. Only your mind determines how you will interpret these neutral events. It's your judgment that colors the event as either good or bad. These neutral events provide the requested and needed learning lessons in our journey of reawakening. They are your proving grounds for learning. The world of time and space is a world of perception, not of fact. Based on your beliefs, which are derived from your past, your egoic mind creates an image of an event that it would like to experience. Like a radio tower, your mind broadcasts its desired thought pattern out into its surrounding environment as a specific frequency. If another mind is tuned into that frequency, the message is received and shared with the other party, who returns a confirmation message indicating the party's willingness to participate in the event. If someone's not looking for that event frequency, the vibration is simply unnoticed, continues to be broadcast from the sender's radio tower. If no one's willing to receive that frequency, manifestation will not occur for that event. The mind's broadcast tower only transmits specific frequencies for desired experiences. It has no ability to broadcast the negation of an idea. For example, it can broadcast either a request for health or sickness. It lacks the ability to broadcast your desire to experience the event of not being sick. If your mind is focused on resisting sickness, the frequency is tuned to sickness. And that's what will be broadcasted. And unfortunately, that's what's going to be experienced. Event frequencies are neither good nor bad. They are merely neutral events that are desired to be experienced by the sender. The manifestation of the event has no inherent ability to cause the recipient to respond with either fear or love. They merely broadcast to the world that you are interested in having a particular experience. What you choose to do with that experience is up to you. You can choose to see the experience as an attack or as a cry for love. In this regard, the event or experience still remains neutral. Your mind only decides how you wish to interpret the neutral event. In time and space, the choice is always between fear or love. Although no one has the ability to cause you to lose your inner peace, how you choose to interpret the events of your world can influence the other party. Your interpretation of the event becomes your broadcast signal to your outer world. If one party chooses to view the event through the eyes of love and forgiveness, that frequency of love and acceptance will be available for the other party to tune into and perhaps change their own broadcast signal to align with the other party's viewpoint. Neither party can force the other side to modify their frequency against their will. But you can provide a frequency that previously was unavailable so that then they can choose a different path. In time and space, your function is forgiveness. Your purpose is love. And your destiny is the peace of God. When you are willing to be a radio tower for only the will of God, you will be broadcasting on the frequency of love and forgiveness. You will signal a different vision for your world and attract experiences that align with that new vision. When you realize that your will is the same as God's will, all your egoic illusions will be dismissed as meaningless by your healed mind. Conflict will be impossible, and your inner peace will be restored. Let's take a deep breath. Relax for a moment. Connect with our bodies. And let some breath work bring us down to a place where we're ready to receive the message that our higher power wants us to hear today. Yesterday, I willed that there would be light, and by the end of the day, there was light. Today, there is no will but God's. My will is brought into God's will and changed with a holy blessing into my peace of mind. Let's take a deep, clean breath. Let your belly expand and your lungs fill up. And hold on to that breath while you count down from 6, 5, 4, 3. Blow out with control. Release the air. Empty your lungs. Now, let your belly relax so your diaphragm can get out of the way, and let those lungs fill up with nice, beautiful, clean, cool air. Hold that nice air in your lungs. As you breathe out, think, there is no will but God's. I cannot be in conflict. There is no will but God's. I cannot be in conflict. Take your next deep breath. Make it the deepest breath of today. Fill your lungs and hold that air in your lungs, allowing your body to relax, allowing your mind to open. Pull your shoulders back as you exhale and let that air go. And with it goes any conflict, leaving you at peace. Today, remember, there is no will but God's will. I cannot be in conflict. I am at peace. Nothing can disturb me. My will is one with God's. My will and God's are one. God wills peace for his Son. Let us recognize today that without illusions, conflict is impossible. If we see conflict, an illusion gave rise to that. Correct the illusion, the conflict disappears. There is no will but God's. I cannot be in conflict. There is no will but God's. These conflict thoughts are meaningless. There is no will but God's. I share it with God. So my conflict thoughts about anything cannot be real. Because there is no will but God's, I seek His peace today. Sink into this thought. Feel it closing around you in protection. If you are succeeding, you'll feel a deep sense of joy and increased alertness. And if you don't feel that, close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Repeat to yourself, there is no will but God's. I share that will with God. I seek God's peace today. I seek God's peace today. I seek God's peace today. And I am rewarded by being welcomed back into the kingdom with fully opened arms and all the love of the universe. I'll let you guys reconnect with the earth beneath you. However your body is experiencing its comfort at the moment, let the energy come up through you. Your breathing can come back to normal. And today, carry this blessing with you throughout the day. We're here to be happy. God wants us to feel the love and experience a wonderful world. So today, I've got our question of the day, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think. It is time and space provides us with an opportunity to grow, learn, and experience various aspects of love. God does not blame you for participating in the game of separation. Do you feel guilty or believe that you're being punished for your participation in the game of separation? Guilt keeps you bound to your past. Does the game of separation have negative connotations for you? If so, rename the game and call it your journey of reawakening or discovery. This game we call life can be a fun and exciting adventure. It does not have to be a source of guilt or punishment. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Excellent.
Great, thank you. It's amazing. Thank you for that beautiful meditation.
So one of the things
It's
that the Course in Miracles says is that God's will for us is to be happy. And that's something that it's important for us to realize that because a lot of times the way we've been brought up, either from our religious background or society, is that we're an earner and that therefore we're constantly being judged, and that we have this idea of a judgmental God because we have what appears to be a judgmental society, uh, judgmental collective consciousness, all this that surrounds us. But when you realize that God's will is that you be happy, you start realizing that everything is perfectly designed for what we need to learn and grow with. And this becomes a fun learning place to test and hone your skills and ask the question, what would love have me do? Or to, with those experiences, gather feedback to see how did I do. Whether you realize it or not, a child of God is a powerful creator. And we don't realize, and quantum physics is starting to tell us about the power of our mind and our ability of attention and the ability for consciousness to fix the quantum or the items that physically form and are observed as matter. So we're powerful creators, and yesterday's exercise asks you to, I will there be light. Otherwise, to make a conscious decision to see the truth as opposed to the fear-based world, and to realize that as a creator, we either create by design or we create by default, but we will create. And so we are always sending out signals. And, in this exercise, we talked a little bit about the creation process and how that helps to solidify time and space. But we're always creating either by default or by design. And what the Course in Miracles is asking us to do is make a conscious decision to ask our higher self, God, the Holy Spirit, what would love have me do? And then follow that guidance and then proceed accordingly, as opposed to making a conscious or unconscious decision to just go with the mass collective consciousness, or to follow our ego's path and argue for our rightness and some predetermined result that once that experience is over, we then now judge, and we judge ourselves as either a success or a failure. And that attachment to some predetermined result, as opposed to the process of the learning lesson that it provides us, makes us into a learner and is a great source of this blame, shame, and guilt. So it's very important for us to realize we're going to either create by default or by choice. We as decision makers have that, but the Course is asking us not to just willy-nilly follow the voice for the ego, which doesn't know what we are and will argue for our rightness and is trapped in our fear-based thought system, or to go within and ask to follow for that higher self, that guidance of the higher self, and then do what that higher voice directs us to do. But you will create. And it's a choice for either fear or love. And our goal is always to minimize our own fear. And once that is achieved, then to try and reduce the fear of the collective consciousness. But, you just follow your inner guide. And it's not so much what you do, but why you do it. Did you do it out of fear, or did you do it out of love? The actual thing that you do may very well be the same, but because of that why you're doing it, it will either increase your inner peace or take you into fear. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. That's really helpful. You have been really helpful with this book, and having you here is really a blessing. So thank you very much. I was really like having my mind in this question that you made. Do you feel guilty or believe you are being punished for your participation in the game of separation? And I have to say that I most probably been feeling, let me just put the volume down a little bit in the music. Yeah. So I was feeling like I must be feeling been feeling guilty probably, because in my experience, well, I mean, I know that I'm not guilty now, but when I was the way I was before the Course in Miracles, it's probably that I was guilty. And it's funny because when you feel guilty, yeah, it really sets your entire experience to be out of guilt, and to be out of guilt gives you the sense of you have to give it up everything, and it's not giving anything up. It's just moving and going with the flow, and recognizing God in everything that has been happening, instead of something bad on you. It's just a process of you reawakening, right? My experience before A Course in Miracles was one really full of uncertainty. I mean, I didn't have any certainty of support in my life, or what I will be in the future. So I was always relying on only myself, my skills, my talent, or my ability to communicate, and I built my life with the knowledge that my mom gave me, and the knowledge that I had from experiences day to day, that the experiences that I had day to day. So I did made a beautiful journey in that sense, but it also put me in several times in positions where I give up everything to have like, I mean, it feels like, yeah, deep down inside of me must have been a huge sense of guilt, that I saw that everything that was around me wasn't mine for some reason. So I never feel like I was being punished, because I do think that my life has been a great adventure, but I should probably have been feeling guilty, because I always serve. I mean, I always give much than the things that I receive. So I must have been feeling really guilty to let myself like be that way in everything. I mean, I'm just reviewing my life before A Course in Miracles, and it has to be like that. I mean, now I get the to connect the dots there, and it's really wonderful, because I know that I'm not guilty, and on every single day that I wake up and I focus myself on really experience the lessons, I'm reconstructing my belief systems, and I can clearly see that what I'm struggling with, and maybe if I don't have the answer right away, I just keep moving forward with my mind, asking God and asking whatever, and then I have my answer. Yesterday was a tough day for me. I was really battling my ego yesterday, and I had like some experiences with my ex-husband, having like this idea that I didn't have. I mean, yesterday I have this experience with my ex-husband where I felt like I wasn't doing the right thing and that I didn't know what I was doing actually, and maybe I messed up giving everything up, and I was really putting myself in my mind in a position where I couldn't get out of this kind of uh, fear or scare. And I kept thinking, uh, well, God, let me see this with your view, and repeating myself the lessons of the yesterday's lesson that, oh, I will there be light, I will there be light, and I didn't see it, and I didn't see it, and then at the end of the day, I could have a conversation with him, and even though it was really a dramatic one, it was really good for me because he then had the chance to tell me the content of his mind as well, and it gave me peace. So I stopped feeling guilty of doing something wrong. I stopped feeling like I didn't have support in this sense of having my child uh, in a position where I can really, really be with her after I leave for some time, and I could have my light. I mean, I did see the light at the end of the day, at the end of the day, and I stopped feeling guilty. So this question, do you feel guilty or believe you are being punished for your participation in the game of separation? In my case, I must have been feeling really guilty of so many things of being here in this duality in order for me to have all those experiences in the past where I put myself in positions where I had to give everything. But the funny thing is that my own experience tells me and showed me that I never lose anything, because every time that I was like thinking that I was beginning from scratch, it was really the place I needed to be to build something even better than the things that I had in the past. And so yeah, it's a choice. I mean, this course helps you to ground yourself in this game with a different point of view. And in that different point of view, you get to see that your will is God's will, not your will.
If
And
you
everything starts to relate to that.
if you think of yourself as a powerhouse of energy, what guilt, blame, and shame does is it ties up your energy circuits to keep broadcasting on that past experience, and you end up losing your energy circuits. They're no longer available to respond to the present moment. So when we have blame or guilt or shame involved, we still have energy circuits that are plugged in. And if we speak of that idea of a radio tower, we're still broadcasting out that same signal and continuing to attract the same circumstances. The players may change, but the same circumstances to bring that into your present moment. So when we forgive ourselves and we say, hey, this is a learning lesson, why I had that experience doesn't really matter. Just need to realize that I now claim that I've learned my lesson. I no longer need to continue to broadcast on that station. Otherwise, I forgive myself for calling that into my awareness. I claim the learning lesson that it provided. And that learning lesson might just simply be, that was not a fun experience to have. Why have that again? Okay. So you give yourself permission to not to turn off that blame, shame, and guilt, because now you realize that it was just a necessary learning lesson for you to move on to the next step. You say, now I've graduated. I no longer have to be in first grade. I now can advance to second grade. And you leave that behind. As long as you have that guilt involved, your present will become a replay of the past, because you'll be broadcasting out that signal and reattracting those things. Said in the notes, I said that the universe doesn't understand the reverse of an idea. Whenever I was a child, my purpose was not to come back here. That, what I was broadcasting on the tower of, because the universe doesn't understand the word not, the negation of an idea. I was broadcasting on the tower of come back here, come back here, come back here. It drops that not. And therefore, what I was experiencing was all kinds of conflict, struggle. And as long as I wanted to make that my goal, I would be doomed to have to come back, because that's what I was actually asking the universe for, was to come back here, because it doesn't understand the reverse of an idea. Resistance, what you resist persists. So what you need to do is to get onto the broadcast frequency of what I desire. I desire good health. I desire to be happy, healthy, and abundant. And I broadcast off of that tower or that frequency, and that's what I attract, as opposed to resisting, because you're having resistance always requires a whole lot more energy, because you're going against the stream instead of going with it. When you're broadcasting what you desire, you're going with the energy, and the universe is sending supportive people or experiences your way. When you're broadcasting from the resistance tower, you're getting experiences that now you have to fight against, and it takes much more energy and it drains. So you want to get on the what you desire as opposed to what you wish. And that's why the last lesson, I will there be light, is basically saying, I, my decision maker, decide that my intention is to wake up and to reclaim the truth that I am God's beloved child with whom she is well pleased. God didn't create any junk. I'm perfect, whole, and complete, and I just accept that. And
I'm
that's
with
the
you,
time.
Tom.
Yeah. Thank you.
Love it, Tom. Thank you. Good stuff. So Tom is the author of the Course in Miracles workbook for dummies. There's links to that up in the A Course in Miracles link at the top of the clubhouse room here. And I send this out to our Facebook group as well. Our Facebook group was linked earlier, and we'll put it back up. You can keep the conversation going over there. My dad and I have been reading this book for the last 6.5 years, and decided last year to start doing it regularly on Clubhouse. And we've had this morning room here since July 4th. We're going to continue on with the lessons. Today was lesson 74. Tomorrow will be 75. And I'll be here about an hour earlier than right now, starting to read that one tomorrow. I really appreciate you guys joining me. I've had a ton of miracles happen in my life since I started reading this book, including for going from an only child to having an older sister who is wiser and has wonderful guiding thoughts for me, to moving from a place where I really felt stuck into a place where I now feel free, finding the love of my life. Lots of great things happening for me. So I'm really glad you guys are here, and I'd love to hear from anybody who has some feedback of how this is hitting them, or how they can apply this lesson, or anything else you feel like sharing.
I think this is one of those. Well, every one of these is classic. It could probably change our life
I
in
never met
any
a
one.
lesson I didn't like.
I know it's really amazing. When I read the title of this, it it's like before I started reading it, I just said, well, what if that's really true? And what if that's really, really, really true? And I don't even know why the question didn't come to me as a question. It came to me as actually a declarative statement that this is amazing in that this is true. It's absolutely amazing. Last night I went to a place that you can't just get any kind of vaccinations. I'm not talking about COVID or any of the current pandemics that we seem to be afflicted with in this world today, but um, I had to get a yellow fever vaccine because I'm going to Liberia next Saturday. And it took an hour and a half. And it was not like something else where you line up and roll up your sleeve and get the vaccine. This was a lot more about educating me on what mosquitoes can do and other things like that, mostly mosquitoes of different types, actually. And I had to review all of the other vaccines that I have or haven't gotten. Did I have smallpox or not? And
My dad's hanging out
chickenpox
with
or not?
porcupines.
Well, as it turned
How
out,
many how many
I
pricks did you get, Dad?
no, just the small yellow fever, and
Just a small prick. Great.
yes, that's right, and she was very nice too. But it's actually a new business because you can't get it through a doctor anymore. You can't get it by walking into a pharmacy, and you pay, believe it or not, $360 to get it. Um, but it's an education
And
experience,
cheaper
and
than
not.
actually getting yellow fever. So,
Yeah, you're being real helpful. Thanks, Lee.
well, I'm glad you're not going to get yellow fever. I'm glad you're
Well,
well protected.
I am too, or any
As
other
long
color for that matter.
as long as you show up here at 6:30 my time, you can be anywhere you want to be and do anything you want to do.
Yes, sir. um, it it uh, it was a really interesting experience because she um, had me think about stuff that I obviously never think about, and this has been causing my wife a lot of stress, and she blamed me for her stress last night, and I said, "Well, how did I cause your stress?" And she looked at me like, "What are you, nuts?" So it's not easy sometimes because we're listening, we're studying, we're doing these things. I'm thinking of Kermit and his song "It's Not Easy Being Green." Of course, he doesn't have a whole lot of choice, does he? But sometimes it's not easy. So we do take, maybe similarly to what Adriana was referring to, we take what appears to be to other people as foolish chances and other things because they're not tuned into to our entire stream of thoughts that get us to make a decision that appears weird to them, and so it does stress them out. How did he get this dot to connect with? I thought he was on this other trail connecting those dots. This is different, and often we're on a different track from what other people think we are, especially if we're studying these kinds of things. And they appear to be strange to other people. And it just reinforces us when we read a lesson like today, this powerful lesson, that we are following what God wants us to be doing right now. Is there more tribulation than ever? One could argue yes. I don't know. But I know that there's a lot of difficulties, and I know that there are things that have to be solved. And as a member of this world group that we're all in, we have to do what we think is our is a, I just saw a funny message. Flu vaccine was a dud. Oh, never mind. Um, I love having the phone throw these things at you while you're going along. Um, but yes, it can appear to be erratic to other people. And it reinforces the need for us to stay close to this and to know that we are peaceful with the continuity that is developing in our minds, whether anyone else sees the continuity or not. I do my best to explain to my wife what we're doing. She finds it difficult at times. I do the best I can to help her with that. And
But
I'm just being very
she
truthful,
just
open,
want
and
to
honest
know
here.
that you are going to be safe and that you are taking care
Sure,
of yourself and not doing this like with that much of a risk. So, yeah.
exactly. So think about when I say I'm going to get a yellow fever vaccine, what is triggered in another person's mind who loves you? There's no question that she loves me. She can either get from that, oh my God, yellow fever? Oh, I hadn't thought of it. Not that she didn't, but I'm just saying she can start to go into a whole descending spiral of fear just from the words yellow fever and start picturing giant mosquitoes and so on. And
They also ask you to do that if you go to Colombia.
okay, good. Then I can go to Colombia because this
Yeah,
yellow fever is for
you're
life.
all set.
I'm all set. I can go to Colombia and Liberia. Um, it's really interesting. It's a fascinating life that we live. It's not boring, and I'm glad you're all here on the path with us. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, it's an adventure. For me, it's an adventure, and it gets like a little bit scary sometimes, but it always has a good ending. Always, if it has an ending.
I love our mornings together. I'm so glad you guys joined me. It's 7:37 right now. It's one of my favorite kinds of airplanes to fly. We are going to have an amazing day today. It's the Ides of March. We don't have to watch out for our backs. There's no et tu, Brute here. So, I invite you all to have a wonderful day. There's a recording. If you click up above, you can save it. It's A Course in Miracles.live. And I've already lined it up so that when you come back, it's waiting for you. So there's an easy thing for you to do. Keep the thought today. There is no will but God's. And I'm so glad you're with me. And I wish you all to have a wonderful day. Marianne, Christine, Liz, Michael, Derek, Rosa, Avat, thank you guys for joining us down below. If you feel like sharing, feel free to raise your hand. And I hope you all have a great day. I'm going to start getting to work over here.
Well, thank you, everybody. Let's see what the Holy Spirit is gonna take us today with this beautiful lesson. There is no will but God's will. Thank you,
Adriana, thank
everybody.
you. Thank you
Oh,
so much for the support and helping me get the music at the right level and putting the right links up there so people can get back to the Facebook group. Bill, thanks for asking.
honey, this is all for everybody's sake. So we are doing this for ourselves and for everybody because we are one. So
Yes, we are.
there's nothing to feel like it is huge doing, because what you do in fact is the thing that it's more great than anything else. So
Well,
thank you.
then I will bring our airplane in for a landing.
Yes.
We had no turbulence at all in today's flight. I'm so glad you're with me. I hope you had a nice cup of coffee, and I'll be here tomorrow when you come back.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I'll see you tomorrow. Namaste, Tom.
Create a great day for yourself and your world. Namaste.
Yep, looking for a really terrific day, because if there's only one will, and it's God's will, we're in good shape. Thank you all for joining us on this. Bye for now.